very, I would say, a great achievement for me to be able to kind of, again, be that champion or be that representation. I think Jessica Troy definitely had all the credentials to beat me, and obviously did. All the credit to her. She's fantastic. I hope, she achieves all the goals that she has, as long as one of them isn't, to remain PWA heavyweight champion.
Welcome back to the Grapple Theory podcast. This week we're heading back to Australia. It's been a long time since we've been back down under, and with one of the biggest rising stars, I guess I would say, of Australia's ever-growing scene, Ricky South. Ricky, thanks so much for coming on the Grapple Theory podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. I kind of miss Grapple Theory. It's been a long time, as you said, since I've had an Aussie guest, so very honoured to be the return Australian guest here.
Oh, I'm glad. Thank you. No, it means a lot to me as well. I was going to say, to open things up, is how we normally start with the podcast, is just asking you how you found your year, how you found sort of, not just the last necessarily 6 months of the year, but like the last 12 months in general, since last summer. How have things been for Ricky South in the ring? How would you assess the last 12 months for Ricky South?
Look, I think I would say, if I was to sum it up really in one word, it's really just refinement. The last 12 months have been quite an exciting, I would say, roller coaster, but there haven't been too many downs or too many sort of lulls. So things have really been progressing from one good opportunity to another, or one good sort of match to another. And I will say, in the 12 months that we're speaking of, I have had quite good matches that I am quite proud of, and ones that I kind of hang my hat on. So in overall, a good 12 months. And for my home promotion, PWA, it's been a fantastic 12 months. We've been going strength to strength with a lot of our shows, showcasing a lot of good talent, new talent, and really trying to put on a bit of a different show and different performance. So even on that front as well, obviously heavily involved in PWA, so happy to obviously see their success and their growth.
Yeah, absolutely, because if promotions are doing well, the wrestlers are doing well, right? It's just a natural progression.
Spot on.
Yeah, I mean, like PWA, like you say, are the ones who I think are really breaking out. I mean, we mentioned before recording that the Aussie scene is just, in my mind at least, just so underappreciated and underrated in terms of, I guess, the viewership you get versus the talent that's actually there. I think like a lot more people need to be paying attention to it, and I think PWA seem to be that promotion now that's gaining a bit of traction outside Australia and having people sit up and take notice.
Yeah, look, 100%, and it is kind of a bit of an idea or a thought always in the back of mind. What's something that we can do different? What's something that is a little bit away from the norm that is the current presentation of independent wrestling? And we're always trying to, find what that sort of nice little hook is. I think right now the best one to look at is, you ever seen the soft ground wrestling?
Yeah. We've actually had going out fairly soon. Actually, as of time of recording, we've had someone from soft ground on. I won't spoil it for anyone watching over who that's going to be, but like,
oh my god,
yeah, we've actually,
so
yeah, I mean, like, yeah, they're doing crazy shit out there. It's brilliant.
Well, they're doing crazy shit, but only because they have such a unique,
the selling point
presentation that it's just such a great hook. And even though obviously we are traditional professional wrestling, we're still trying to find what that hook is, or what that kind of sort of that niche marketing would be. But yeah, look, it's always a constant journey. But what I do like about the team in PWA, you got to give certain people shout out. You got to give people like Jax Jordan, JT Robinson, and a few other people behind the scenes. They're never really content. They always want to kind of grow and explore new things. So hats off to them. I don't give JT too many compliments, but
a rare one, yeah. I was going to say, so in my mind, I think for PWA, in my mind especially, I think the thing that you have going for you, the selling point, as it were, is the venues you guys book for shows. I think like you have this real list of really eclectic venues that you work that all sort of lend itself to PWA as a promotion, but all look quite different from each other as well and give off a different vibe based on like the show you're like running and what you're going for that show.
Yeah. Look, I think that again ties into kind of the strategy in which we look for. We don't really want to go for the traditional sort of venues in which indie wrestling is associated with, and I'm sure you know the type, the kind of just the big empty sort of boring halls or kind of like the sport halls or whatever. They don't have much of a character to them. I think it's a better atmosphere to find those venues in which oftentimes host other sort of live performances or live events, you know, such as music or maybe even sort of comedy gigs, but usually music's the bigger one. Because we feel like obviously pro wrestling and PWA is just the best complement to that. I mean, we recently did one out of it's called the Spiegel tent. You know, I didn't realize that this was actually quite a notable venue, but my goodness, just wrestling in a really, really kind of unique circus tent environment was insane. It was awesome. It wasn't massive, but we were able to get a lot of people in there, and you know, with the kind of like big sort of like tip sort of circus tent. I'm sure you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was phenomenal, and we obviously created the whole sort of show around that sort of circus theme. So there's a lot of ways in which we kind of incorporate the venue in itself and the organization that kind of owns that venue. There are ways in which we tie it into our promotion, the actual show itself. So yeah, look, and I feel kind of it gives that sort of uniqueness to the crowd or to the people in attendance.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I watched that Spiegel Tent show because they gave it for free on YouTube, which again, incredibly kind of PWA, because like I rarely get to watch it for free, and that was brilliant. I mean, like I saw the venue, I was like, this is the perfect venue for wrestling. Like I thought it was brilliant. Like you say, like not huge, but it felt huge. Like the high ceiling of the canvas and everything, like it felt so big, and it looked like you really packed it out. So like.
Out of curiosity, are there still many sort of promotions doing like the Butland shows in England or the UK?
Yeah. We still get like the holiday camp shows. They're still really thriving. They're still the ones more so than the indies, I would say, that like consistently get the big crowds.
Would they be in the kind of like same sort of venue sort of type, sort of like circus tent? Or they
it's normally like a big sort of like you say, like a big hall, or like some of them have like little tents and stuff like that. So like it mixes from like place to place, but yeah, some places have it as like, I think Butland's is the one that's probably the most famous for like, you know, the big tent. But like they sometimes run it in like other like halls and stuff. I guess just whatever they have available on site.
Yeah, well look, that because when we locked in that venue and obviously saw it for the first time, that was my immediate thought. I very much did think or harken back to, you know, the Butland days of the sort of indie wrestling. I thought to myself it was actually pretty cool. So yeah, just something I definitely thought about.
No, I thought it was great. I thought it was great, and like you say, like it definitely has that feel, doesn't it? That sort of like that camp show kind of feel to it. And I thought, like you say, you guys really played into that with how you produced it as well, like what people did and how you did it and stuff. Like obviously you had like the fire breather opening out, you had the classic backside girls doing their little mini concert before being interrupted. I thought it all lent itself so perfectly to that venue.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So look, hopefully we get to go there again. I know they are a traveling venue, being a circus venue, so hopefully we can lock them down for however long.
Yeah, would love that. And obviously, speaking of venues, speaking of upcoming PWA shows, King of the Metro is coming up. As of time of this going out, I would say next week. It's going to be happening. Obviously, it's a big night for Ricky South. You're facing Big Fudge for a chance to get in the Rumble itself. Like, I mean, obviously you and Big Fudge have had your differences. But I mean, first of all, it's got to be a little frustrating that you've got to stake your claim for Rumble when other people are just getting their spots like handed to them.
You know what? I think it's a case of once I got knocked off the throne as PWA heavyweight champ, longest reigning, 954 days. No one's counting here. One of those cases where, unfortunately, you kind of have to go right back to the start. So I don't have any problem with that. I know that through what I do and Backman and the regime, so the group that we got going on, we'll get to that title, you know, a lot sooner than later. And, unfortunately, Fudge decided to pick up a little bit of a fight with myself, air some previous grievances that I thought were settled or dead and buried. But what are you going to do?
I was going to say, it must be. I'm sure it'd be nice for you as Ricky South to be able to make sure you're in the Rumble, but also make sure he's not going to be in the Rumble.
Look, nothing would give me greater joy than absolutely messing up Fudge's night again. I've done that in the past, and it does give me a sense of pride, and it is a good feeling because I think Fudge is a jerk or just a little bit of a hypocrite. But anyway, that's each their own. But as long as I'm in the Rumble and Fudge loses, that to me is going to be a perfect night. Yeah,
absolutely. Ideal, right? Ideal. And then it all leads in, right? You're in the Rumble, you win the Rumble naturally, of course, and then surely title shot in August.
Yeah. Look, I couldn't agree more. That's my plan. Either myself or Backman, either one of us is going to be fine. The two biggest sort of competitors in the Rumble, two massive heavyweights, probably the heaviest people in the Rumble. God forbid if a super heavyweight comes in, but yeah. Look, I think we're good odds of winning that thing.
I was gonna say, I think you both have got a good chance. Who would you say are your main threats, are the people who you need to really watch your back on? Obviously, Charli Evans is in it. Charli is claiming that she's going to be king of the Metro, but that seems a bit premature. Obviously, Love Chevs, she's over here at the minute at time of recording. She's doing a great job, but it seems a bit premature to celebrate like that. With the fact that I'm sure Ricky South will be in the Rumble and others as well. Obviously, Tuckman's in there as well. Loads of other big names. Who do you think you have to watch your back for?
Look. Again, I just want to say, Chevs always says that PWA is Chev's country. Again, with all due respect, I've been here for however long, longest reigning champ. This is well and truly my place. But if I'm watching my back, there are a whole lot of people that I know are massive threats and people who are going to either try some nefarious tactics or some noble sort of endeavors. Anyone from North Shore Wrestling, so Sam Osborne, Will Keatis, respectable fellows, but they are highly competitive and highly dangerous. Ben Braxton as well, a freak athlete, can do almost anything. God forbid if, the entire Backslide Girls faction managed to get in, or, the Third Eye, or, there are just all these massive groups kind of amassing now. So definitely some strength in numbers with a whole bunch of other people. But look, as I said, with Backman and myself, the two biggest competitors there, definitely the most forceful, the most powerful, the strongest. So if you're looking at it objectively or, on paper, we would have to be definite favorites.
I would say so. Very much.
And I may quickly add, I'm kind of glad Robbie's in Japan. He might venture back here for Metro, but if he doesn't, hopefully he wins the Super Juniors and stays the bloody hell away from the Metro.
Yeah, exactly. Keep out of the way. Yeah, no, one less person to worry about, isn't it?
Yeah, stay in your junior heavyweight division.
I think that's obviously that must be the tough thing about being Ricky South, right? Is the fact that, like you say, despite what Chev says, you're probably the king of PWA at the minute. So that it must be tough that, having that mark on your back, having the fact that people are going to be after you.
Look, it's a compliment. In my entire tenure in PWA, I haven't missed one of the Black Label shows. So, well and truly, it is my place. It is my country. If there's a target on my back, that just means people look up to me. People always want to take down the number one. The number one doesn't concern themselves with the opinions of number two and anyone else. So if there is a target, great. At least Backman and myself are looked upon as serious threats, in which we are.
Absolutely. I was going to say as well, moving on to the sort of the title scene, as it were. Obviously, you mentioned longest reigning champ. I'm sure you're keen to get it back. Ideally, I imagine from Jessica Troy to enact that bit of revenge. But talk to me about that title reign, about what it meant to you, and again, dropping it to someone who, I guess, in kayfabe, Jessica Troy has really done you wrong, and it's not very cool. But I think, in terms of outside of the wrestling character, the wrestling sphere, Jessica Troy is someone who I think has been so underrated as well for so long in global wrestling, that it's nice to see her get this shot, this opportunity. But again, talk to me first of all about your reign and again what that meant to you and what it means to you to be the longest reigning champ.
Yeah, look, obviously that reign was a very, very enjoyable time. It started, I think, just as, you know, at least our country was kind of coming out of the first sort of major sort of lockdowns with all the pandemic sort of stuff. But to be able to hold it for that amount of time through various different significant events in PWA's sort of tenure or history, with significant shows and sort of big sort of momentous occasions, it was very, I would say, a great achievement for me to be able to kind of, again, be that champion or be that representation. I do try and obviously represent PWA and the company in the best possible fashion, and I think I did that quite well. Speaking of Jessica Troy, unfortunately, really depends how you want to look at this. You know, if I was really to lose to anyone, I think Jessica Troy definitely had all the credentials to beat me, and obviously did. But again, you mentioned how Jessica Troy is an underrated wrestler. I think underrated is, again, quite a term that doesn't do it justice. I think Jessica Troy's skill and acumen is far beyond what people actually comprehend. So I will give Jessica Troy her due credit. She's fantastic. She's amazing. She is a role model for a lot of people and a lot of wrestlers and a lot of other female talent, not just in PWA, but, you know, across Sydney, across Australia. So all the credit to her. She's fantastic. I hope, you know, she achieves all the goals that she has, as long as one of them isn't, you know, to remain PWA heavyweight champion.
I was going to say, yeah, aside from the fact that you'll be gunning for the title, yeah.
Yeah, aside from that fact, if her goal is to beat 954 days, we're going to have a problem.
Yeah. then there'll be trouble. Then there'll be serious trouble.
There's trouble.
Yeah.
Okay, 953 days, we're good.
Yeah. Anything more, no, not a chance.
Okay, yeah, we have an issue.
Brilliant. Well, again, I think the bulk of this early chat has been about PWA, and that leads us nicely on to this first feature that we've got here on the show. Because, again, I'm pretty sure, like you say, we mentioned off camera, you know, we've had Chevs on the show, we've had the Velocities on the show, and they've both mentioned you, I think, in this sort of feature. So it'll be interesting to see what you say. Because we have a feature here called Dishing the Dirt, and I'm going to ask you to dish some dirt on your locker room mates. So again, it doesn't just have to be PWA, but if anyone from PWA specifically comes to mind, or anywhere else, I'm going to throw some questions at you, and I want you to let me know which wrestler comes to mind.
Beautiful.
So the first one is, who's always running late?
Frankie B.
Yeah?
Horrific punctuality.
Are we talking like right before showtime, or?
Look, we're talking before showtime, or, you know, if there's a training, if training starts at 7, she'll miraculously be here at, you know, 6:59 at 50. Like, it's just, you just can't rely on it. And everyone has that one friend that you have to tell them to come, you know, be anywhere half hour before the intended time, just to compensate. She's one of them.
That's Frankie, right? Okay.
Nothing.
The next one is who has the worst music taste?
Look, I'm not one to judge. Okay, I don't think, and look, I will have to say, I don't think I have the worst music taste. I think my music taste is quite eclectic and quite far-ranging. But if you're looking in terms of, you know, the minority or the common consensus, everyone would say I have the worst music taste. I can't really pinpoint someone who has bad music taste.
It's all opinion, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's all opinion.
It's all opinion. I love my music taste, but everyone fucking hates it.
Really?
I don't get why. It's anyway. But,
what are we talking? What sort of stuff do you have on?
Look, it really just depends what I'm vibing. Now, again, a little fact about myself. There's probably may have come up in previous interviews, I am very much an old soul. So my type of music is anywhere, between the 60s and sort of 80s or 90s. Doesn't matter what genre it is. If it's got a good sort of beat or a hook, or if I vibe it, I'll play it. Just for example, like for some reason, yesterday at training, I was playing, I don't know why I was vibing some, orchestra classics. I found a little playlist that's just like, I don't like orchestra, but I like these. And turns out all of them were just bangers. So it's stuff like that.
No, I sort of get that. We get a lot the fact of like some people say that they have the worst music taste, or people have the worst music taste because it's so eclectic. Because like if you're carpooling or something, you just want to know what's coming next. And if someone's got a really eclectic taste, you have no idea what's going to be next on the playlist.
That's what I mean. It's very random.
Yeah.
The one thing I just don't have is kind of like screamer music.
Oh, Ricky, you're breaking my heart.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
Honestly, it's not that I just don't like it. It's just that I have no appeal towards it.
Sure. No, I get it. It's like, I think with most music, isn't it? It's like, it's all music really, apart from like pop and like maybe R&B and stuff, is like its own real niche where like if you don't like it, you just don't like it, right?
Yeah, this is what I mean. I have no ill feelings towards it. If someone puts it on, like I'll listen, but it's not, by request.
Yeah.
Certainly not.
No, sure. The next one's a nicer one. It's who's the comedian of the locker room? Who can you always count on to make you laugh?
So it used to be a gentleman by the name of Headhunter Rig. But I would say now anyone or someone who I could rely on just to make me crack up a little bit, or Corpse, would definitely be the Tuck Man.
Yeah.
Tuck is quite funny, or Jimmy Townsend. Both of those lads are just funny, just without trying to be. They're effortlessly pretty damn funny.
Yeah, I think they both give off that vibe. That makes sense to me. That sounds right. That sounds about right.
They're good quality.
The next one is I think my favourite on the list, and it's the one where I think it probably means the most in terms of dishing dirt, because it's who would you under zero circumstances not let a family member date?
Oh, okay. That's a very good question. Am I? You know what? I may just keep it to one.
I was going to say you're not bound by any sort of gender or any sort of like if someone's already in a relationship. We're saying like everyone's single in this scenario.
You know what? I would not let anyone date Kai Drake.
Well, how come?
Only because I think Kai Drake and I are very similar, and I adore Kai Drake, and we have frequent arguments about this. I just think Kai Drake is bloody weird. There are just some things that brother does that's just, you look at it and you're like, that's weird. You're just really, really weird. And he's also, he can be the dumbest human you've ever met. So just, in a partner, you want someone, that you can rely on, someone who's smart, intellectual, someone who's obviously good looking, to which Kai Drake is not. There's many boxes I think Kai Drake does not tick. That's not saying I tick them either, but yeah, I wouldn't want anyone in my gene pool mixing with the Kai Drake genetics.
Oh, poor Kai. He's going to be devastated, I'm sure.
Nah, well.
The next one is the next one we're talking outside the ring, like in the locker room, or if you just see him out socially. Who has the worst dress sense?
Who has the worst dress sense? I think someone like a Caveman Ugg.
Yeah.
Would definitely be up there. I think Caveman Ugg has a horrible dress sense.
What are we talking?
Look, I'm not the biggest fan. I think it's pronounced like the Zubaz or Zubaz sort of tracksuits.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, like the colorful. I don't know. Just I don't vibe with them that much. Yeah, I don't know. Caveman Ugg just doesn't look the flashiest. And again, that may be hypocritical coming from me, because I think Velocities may have absolutely muddied my name.
Yeah, I think they might have done. Yeah.
I think they mentioned this. My fashion's just, ironically enough, just trackies and shirts. I have a whole bunch of wrestling shirts. That's mine. That's my dress sense. And then probably, it's also a tricky one. Again, Kai Drake.
Yeah.
Kai Drake does have a pretty awful dress sense.
Again, lends itself to the no dating thing, right? It's like, come on, get some style first and then...
Yeah. And you know what? If Kai Drake ever was on Grapple Theory, I think I'd be a fair few answers to these questions.
He'd have to get his own back now, wouldn't he, for sure?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Well, the next one's nicer. The next one is the classic, you've forgotten your gear for a show, fuck's sake, but you've got to borrow someone's gear in the locker room. Fortunately, we're talking one size fits all. You can pick anyone you want. Whose gear do you look at and you're like, I would rock that?
Good question. Look, I always kind of fancy like the gear of the Velocity, so like either like a Paris or a Jude. I like gear that's got a little bit of a nice array of colors, or a nice sort of design. So they always have nice gear. I think I could absolutely rock the shit out of it. Someone else who has really, really good gear, and I may actually pull two people into this category: Mick Moretti and Everett Connors.
Everett Connors, yeah. Everett Connors is very different as well, gear-wise, isn't it?
It's very different, and I look at what he wears, and I'm like, A, it just looks insanely comfortable. And B, it's like, I think it looks insanely stylish. He's able just to wear that as gear, so I'm very envious. But also, Mick just looks like he's just either picked whatever clothes is available at home, or maybe a little bit more commonly the case, just gone to we call it like a Vinnie's or like a Salvation Army, just $2 shirt, $1 pants, ripped it up a little bit, and there's his gear. And for some reason, he just makes it work amazingly.
Yeah, I think it's one of those ones where like I feel like it's only Mick who could pull it off. Do you know what I mean? Like we get those over here a lot. Those are the answers. Like I couldn't pull it off, but he pulls it off, and that's what makes it work.
He pulls it off. If I tried to pull it off, I'd get the cops called on me for some things. But yeah, Mick he's able to make it work, and it works very well. Yeah.
I think Mick's a good shout. Everett's a good shout as well. I mean, like as well, I feel like Ricky South would be an interesting addition to the backside girl.
Look, I can dance, okay, and I can throw some hips. So if the backside girls need someone to help the choreography, or just really be the front runner and the kind of like the headline sort of person, I would be like the Taylor Swift. They could be my backup, or like I could be like the Dua Lipa.
Of course, yeah. The two natural comparisons to Ricky South, Taylor Swift and Dua Lipa.
Same, Yeah. I've heard that sort of comparison, or that sort of echelon, us three being, grouped together quite frequently.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure I've heard even around here a few people be like, if someone asks that, you're going to see Taylor Swift at Wembley, they're like, nah, she's no Ricky South. What are you talking about?
Yeah. People call like Taylor Swift, the Ricky South of performing.
Pop music, yeah. I'm pretty sure that is her official nickname.
Yeah, I don't know if that has gone around to the UK, but it's said a lot.
Over there, at least. Okay, well, that's good to know. And in that case, the Backside Girls should be honoured if ever you decide to step in there.
They are very honoured. Very honoured. They should be.
Brilliant. The next one, there's only a couple more. The next one is who would throw the best party in the locker room? If everyone, say everyone invited you to a party on the same night and you could only pick one, what's the party you knew you needed to be at?
Very good question. I think Scott Green could throw a very good party.
Yeah?
Scott Green, I think is very good at curating a very good vibe.
Right. I think that's important, isn't it?
It is important. He's very good at making sure a lot of elements kind of hit the mark, and he's very vibe conscious or vibe focused. Yeah,
that's good. No, I get it. And the next one, actually it's the final one. It's and I think it's the most important of the entire list, because it really says a lot about you. I think it says a lot about you as a person. This one. Who would you choose? I'm going to say you can't say Backman as well, because the regime have got to say it. I think that's too obvious an answer. Who would you choose to be your partner in the zombie apocalypse?
So I'm not too sure. Now, this isn't going to be my answer, but if he still was around, a gentleman by the name of Matt Rogers would have been a very good shout. If you remember who that gentleman was.
Yeah, I'm aware, yeah.
The most legitimate badass. Like, no one would absolutely dare mess with him. He's, quite scary when he wants to be. But I'm not going to really say him. I think, you know what? I speak ill of this person quite frequently, but I think this can hopefully be a nice sort of redemption and a nice sort of circle back. If there's one person you kind of want in the trenches, you want Kai Drake.
Yeah.
You want Kai Drake. You know, for all his flaws, there'd be no better person to be with you by your side in the trenches, in the thick of things. Plus, I think Kai Drake is just when need be can be a bit of a maniac.
I think that's needed, isn't it? You need someone who's just prepared to literally go insane.
Yeah, so if need be, I really think he could just click it and just, kind of like Hulk, kind of going into Hulk mode, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Just go on an absolute killing spree, and then just a couple seconds later, just come down and just act like everything's normal.
The key question is though, are you in the trenches with him, or are you like, there you go, you deal with it, I'm gonna head up?
Look, I'll do my best, but if Kai Drake decides to kill, a couple thousand zombies while I've got my, one or two covered, that's on. I'll try to do my best.
Not gonna complain, are you? Not gonna complain.
Look, I'm not gonna complain. That's what I'm usually like in Fortnite, in squads or duos or whatever it is. I'll get my 2 kills and whatever, while everyone else gets their 20 kills or 8,000 damage. Yeah, played a bit of Fortnite.
I was gonna say, you don't strike me as a Fortnite guy. That surprises me.
I like the banter that it provides.
Right.
It's a very good environment just to shit talk between a lot of wrestlers.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. That makes sense. Well, that brings us into that feature. We've got another closing feature that we'll get to in a little bit. But first, I want to talk more about... We've spoken a lot about PWA, but I want to talk more about Ricky South as a character, as who Ricky South has sort of like evolved into. Because I think it's fair to say like Ricky South as a character has like changed a lot since you debuted, like in terms of how you present yourself, who you are, who the character is, like as a person. So like... The thing we really like to do here on the podcast is sort of like get into the mind of that. I'm really curious, like, before you started wrestling, coming in, knowing you wanted to start wrestling, like, is there a certain point in like your life, in like growing up, in like before you started wrestling, where you were like, that has influenced who Ricky South has become?
Look, this may be a little bit different to other people's answers to this question. I never really had any sort of set idea on the character in which I wanted to portray or who I wanted to be. My focus is always a little bit more towards what is the need that currently exists within, the landscape, within your own sort of promotion, or within kind of, say, a little bit wider, countrywide. What's the gap that you can fill? And if you can fill that gap, go for it. Because then you're going to have a better chance of sticking out, being noticed, and then obviously being able to obviously develop from that. So when I first started, I identified, hey, there's this gap that, historically in the, near 100 years of professional wrestling has always been these sort of type of characters or the type of wrestlers. Started with that, and then along my journey, as I wanted to progress a little bit further, get a little bit more opportunities come through, a little bit more, I would say, higher profile matches, or more of a chance to be a representation for certain companies, i.e. champion and whatnot. I wanted to make it just a little bit pivot and just take away some things that people may deem a little bit more, or characteristics that would not have taken me as serious.
Sure, yeah. Characteristics that sort of lend themselves to, I hate to say it, but like characteristics that, and again, it shouldn't be this way, but characteristics that almost sort of lend themselves to the mid-card, where you can't break through that ceiling.
For lack of a better term, yeah. And obviously in my mind, I really, really want to obviously always be at the very top in any sort of organization, be that sort of flag bearer, that representation. So in my mind, I just thought time to get a little bit more serious. So some aspects of the character just kind of, I would say, fell by the wayside or was very consciously, I would say, just left aside. Some others were kept because they were very, I would say, identifiable and contributed to a bit of an image or to a bit of a brand. And then I would say towards that, or the further iteration to which the Ricky South character is developing into now is, I say this, it's just very funny to me. If you were to kind of look at how, if Jumbo Tsuruta went from like young guy, clean, baby face, looking $1 million to old, grizzled sort of Jumbo, just being mean as hell, rough as guts, and just, trying to keep his place in All Japan. That's how I equate my progression. He did that in a span of like a decade or two. I'm trying to do this in 3 or 4 years, and I'm nowhere near as skilled or as grizzled. But yeah, that's the best sort of character progression I can kind of draw a parallel to.
No, sure. I was going to say, because it has been, again, especially like the last sort of like couple of years, especially like because it's been such a different parallel to sort of like the character you were portraying before. Was that like an easy transition to make, or did it take some like getting used to being like, this is who I am now?
Look, it was a bit of a transition. It's always a bit of a challenge trying to steer away from what was popular or what was, I would say, connected really well to audiences. So it's always a challenge steering away from that and trying to think what would connect with the audiences, but on a completely opposite level. And just honestly trying to always think about that, different ways in which that can be done. And you know what, it's bloody tough, because every time I have an idea of, oh, this could be cool, Roman Reigns did that for, 4 or 5 years, and I go, bugger, the absolute goat he is. So
yeah.
It's always, my mind's always a constant process of what's different, what can be new, or what are the ways in which I can kind of get maximum result, the maximum result by not doing something that's already been done or cliched.
Yeah, because it is always a risk, isn't it? Like you say, when you've already got a popular character, to sort of do a complete swerve on that is always a risk. To be like, what if people don't connect with it? What if I sort of lose the connection that I had?
Yeah. Well, look, I think it's always very, very fortunate that, at least where I'm at in PWA, me doing a full 180, it was only really possible with the fact that we have some incredibly adored protagonists or some really, really good baby faces that we have, i.e. someone like Jess. So I'm only as hated as much because I have those people to kind of be my foil.
Yeah.
Kind of be my arch nemesis.
Yeah, I think that's so important, isn't it? Like you say, like to have, again, like you say, the baby faces that everyone loves, that it's almost impossible to hate, so that when you turn your back on them, you're going to get the reaction. Like there's not even any real risk to it, because they're just going to turn their back on you.
Correct. And they're obviously always going to cheer for the adored one, and by extension, they are just going to absolutely hate my guts. I think it's getting too easy for people to hate me, and I don't know if I'm flattered or if I should be worried.
It's a fine line, isn't it, between where's too much?
Because I come out of the curtain or just show my face, and people are already starting to grimace and just hiss and just kind of have a bit of a disgusted look on their face. So either I'm doing my job immensely well, or my just sight is an actual just, people are just repulsed by my being.
No, I think let's say it's doing the job well. Let's say it's doing the job well.
Let's say it's the former.
But when you join the Backside Girls, inevitably that'll all change.
Oh, everyone's gonna love me.
They're gonna be like, "Whoa, where's this guy been?"
Exactly. Once they see me dance and bust out my choreography, it's game over.
Brilliant. Well, I was going to say, as of time of recording, of course, we've got Charli Evans over here in the UK. She's really loved over here. Obviously, she sort of built her name almost over here, coming over here years ago. But, I mean, what about Ricky South? When are we going to get to see Ricky South over on these shores? There's plenty of great matches for Ricky South to have over here.
You know what? The UK's always been something in the back of my mind in terms of, obviously it would be great to go over there. It would be great because I consider myself someone who's always kind of like stays, finger on the pulse of what's happening, who's doing good things and whatnot. And yes, again, bit of a cop-out, but I like doing it locally. I'm very much the kind of person that's, I'm along for the ride locally. And I want to try and see where that goes, and I want to be on board that ship as it's full steam ahead. That's not saying I can take maybe a month and quickly go over to UK if anyone is willing to assist and help out.
Anyone who's watching, get it booked. Come on.
Yeah, get it booked. But look, until then, I'll be everywhere in Australia. But yeah, there are some definite matches and some definite people in the UK that I think would be a fantastic little matchup, and some promotions that I think would be really exciting to have the example on.
Yeah, for sure. Totally agree. Well, that leads us nicely into our closing feature. We've dished some dirt on your locker room mates, but now, Ricky South, we're going to get to know a little bit more about you as a person, because this feature is called Anatomy of a Pro Wrestler, and it's essentially what makes you you. So again, almost quickfire style, I'm going to get some questions to you, and you let me know what comes to mind.
Cool. I'll try and rattle these off quite quickly.
Yeah, well, no, obviously take your time. We'll get into depth if a few of them are quite interesting. We'll get into a few depths, but I mean, just in sort of in terms of it's not like a sort of like a deep thinker question, as it were. Okay. But the first one is, what is your favourite post pinfall pig out?
You know what? A lot of people go for Macca's because it's the most readily available, but something I really love this. So whenever there's like a sleazy sort of kebab shop pizza.
Yes.
Okay, I don't go for the kebabs. I go for like the massive slices of pizza that's just horrendously sort of heart clogging. But post match or post show, they are to die for.
Oh, Ricky, you'd love it over here. We do kebab shop pizza immensely. We do kebab pizza at kebab shops, and it's the greatest thing ever.
Look, if there's like 2 a.m. sort of like Indian, or 2 a.m. sort of like curry, if that's also available over the UK, then I'm done.
Oh, mate, you'd love it over here. Yeah, we got that. You have the kebab pizzas. It's great. It's brilliant. Kebab pizza is the most literally heart-stopping. You take one bite and death is close, but you just keep eating anyway.
I welcome the death every time a slice of meat loaves.
No, I love it. The next one, they're not all food based, but the next one is food based as well. It's the classic, what would your death row last meal be?
Death row last meal. So something that isn't the most well known, but is kind of gets let out every now and then. I am of a little bit of a Greek heritage. Not so much a little bit, but yeah, big Greek heritage. So. There's a little bit of a Greek dish that's very similar to like a lasagna.
Moussaka?
Not moussaka, it's called pastizo. So it's basically just, like a lasagna, very similar with like some bechamel and cream. Man, that shit, if my ear ever makes that's, again, it's one of those things, it's game over.
Okay, I like Greek food, but I've not had that before. I might have to try it next time.
Yeah, look, it's amazing. Although, if we're going to go something a little bit more stock standard, I'm a bit of a fiend for sushi.
Yeah.
Any sushi, any way you want to present it, if it's seafood and rice or whatever it is, give it to me. I'm done. Like, it wouldn't even need to be kind of like a last meal. I'm getting mercury poisoning if I have the option.
I was gonna say it's your last meal, right? You can have. I mean, I'm not sure how Greek and Japanese food mesh together, but you can have both, right?
You can have both. It's not a fusion I'm going to want to experience or visit, but yeah, you can have both.
Yeah, any other Greek or Japanese people watching this being like, what the fuck are they saying? Mixing stuff.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Got Greek, Japanese.
We spoke about music earlier. The next one is the song that gets you the most hyped.
Ooh. It's maybe a little bit peculiar, but "Fool in the Rain," Led Zeppelin.
That's a good choice. Yeah. So like I said, underground. It's like it's not like the classic Zeppelin song you'd think people would go to.
Yeah, it's not when the levee breaks. It's not immigrant song now. "Fool in the Rain." It's not hard grungy, but for me it just kind of like it just gets me in the zone. It just gets me in the right sort of frame of mind, and then yeah, we go.
Yeah, I like it. It's a great choice. It's also like you say, like you sort of say, it's like it's a little different Zeppelin. It's not quite the Zeppelin that you're used to hearing.
Yeah, exactly. It's not. And look, we're going to take a little bit of a hard left, but that I think is the beauty of Zeppelin. They can be, the traditional sort of like heavy, kind of like in your face, kind of loud rock. But so often do they kind of like take a little bit of a backseat, mellow it out a little bit, kind of like. I wouldn't say sort of a slower tempo, but kind of just take it a little bit easier. I think "Fool in the Rain" with kind of like, because I'm a huge John Bonham fan with how he does his sort of like sort of drum piece throughout is masterful. I think "Fool in the Rain" for me is just fantastic.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. It's a great choice. The next one is the movie that you chose the locker room.
That I would show the locker room?
Yeah. So I always say it as like not necessarily your favorite movie, but the movie you think everyone should see at some point.
All right. I'm gonna bundle this into one choice. So this one's gonna be a bit of a cop out, but any of the Austin Powers movies.
Oh, back to back, yeah.
I think is a must. Okay. I just think you just got to watch it. We almost established a real life feud that spilled into wrestling. We almost basically had a match between Jack Bonzer and myself, purely based on the fact that he doesn't think Austin Powers holds up in modern sort of pop culture. I think it does. And yeah, it almost spilled onto a show.
I think Powers holds up. I think Powers holds up. I can't think off the top of my head that there's anything that wouldn't hold up too much.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic, and I think parody is parody, anyway. The other one I would show, I love Leslie Nielsen, so it's called Airplane.
Yes, I love Airplane. Airplane is one of the funniest fucking movies. Oh my God.
I saw a thread just the other day. It was just like, what's one scene from a movie that, regardless of how many times you watch it, you'll always crack up. And that scene where, Leslie Nielsen's with the sick patient and the stewardess comes in, doctor, someone wants you in the cockpit, and then they're slapping around the lady, and then there's the whole line of people waiting up. Just that scene just will forever crack me up.
Yeah, Airplane is just like such a string of incredible, like sort of one-line jokes that.
Yeah, it's just the smartest, humorous. I think movie that I've ever watched, and I could watch that ad nauseum.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah, love Airplane.
I'd like to throw in a little bit more of a serious movie and whatnot, but you know what? If I'm showing locker rooms, man, I want to have a bit of a laugh and everything. So
yeah,
last one I'd probably go with Mel Brooks's Robin Hood, Men in Tights.
Oh yes, yeah, another classic. Like just ridiculously funny.
Just insanely funny. Patrick Stewart cameo, Dave Chappelle. One of his very first gigs. Carrie Elways. It's fantastic.
No, some good movie choices there. I like that. I respect that a lot. That's some good choices. The next one's a bit of a throwback because it's your first job.
My first job, KFC.
Classic.
I was, cashier at KFC.
Classic. How did you enjoy it?
I killed it. It was great.
Yeah.
I progressed onto, I think at that time they called it like a green shirt. You changed from your red shirt to your green shirt. And then after that, I just decided to leave.
Just had enough chicken. It's fine.
Well, yeah. Well, look. Also, looking back at it now, when I was working there at that time, I think it was around about $7.02 an hour, or something around about there. So it was just insane the amount of work that was getting put in and the money you were getting from it. So.
Yeah, I think that's always the like sort of almost like the stigma, isn't it, with fast food? Is the fact that it's like, oh, it's an easy job. It's not an easy job. Like,
well, it's not an easy job, but honestly, it's a great entry level for young mid-teens or someone just very early on joining the workforce.
Yeah,
that sort of fast food gig. There are a lot of good skills and a lot of good sort of things you can get out of working for, reputable fast food chains or franchises. So
yeah, you get like the work ethic as well, but you also get like how to deal with people a lot because
you get good at dealing with customers and very quickly kind of like breaking down barriers or understanding people's sort of emotion and making sure you're able to equip that. So. Yeah, a lot of valuable skills coming from it.
For sure. The next one's the only time we really get a little deep on the podcast because it's your greatest fear.
Look, my greatest fear has always been, or will always be, unrealized talent. And that's a fear for myself and a fear for anyone I see at the Pro Wrestling Academy or really anyone else. There is always a fear that, these people have such immense talent and such, all the potential in the world, and, they don't realize it because, they either quit or they just stop or they X, Y, and Z, something happens, whatever. That's always a fear that, someone has, all the talent in the world and they don't utilize it. That's almost a bit of a tragedy.
No, absolutely. Well, you sort of alluded to it there, like away from these questions. We'll get back to the end because we only got a couple more. But like, again, I think you say that, and then I in my mind as well, like you look at like the PWA Academy and stuff, and the talent that's come out of Australia just generally. Like, I feel like there's nowhere, if you're gonna realize your potential, there's nowhere better to be than there in terms of what they offer you, in terms of what they give you.
Look, I am a little bit biased. I do say yes, but that's not a slight to any of the other amazing training schools throughout Australia. I mean, you look at, Wrestle Rampage had Jag and Jonah as their sort of superstar alumni. You have, EPW with, Team DK, Mikey Nichols and Shane Hayes, MCW with Buddy and Slex and people coming out of there. So every school has their sort of like star alumni, but I would say if you're in Sydney, then obviously it's an irrefutable fact that Pro Wrestling Academy is the place to be. I just think that at the Pro Wrestling Academy you get I think a nice array of styles and experience, people from different sort of I would say backgrounds or different sort of learnings. So I think the Pro Wrestling Academy, if anything, creates well-rounded professional wrestlers.
Yeah, it gives you like a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and look, it gives you a little bit of everything. And just quick example for it. Like I went to Mexico last year. Obviously, I can speak a little bit of Spanish, but the Pro Wrestling Academy gives you enough to make sure you can go anywhere in the world, anywhere, and you'll be right.
Yeah, I think that's so important. That is so important. No, you're totally right. Spot on. Yeah. So,
hats off to, you got to give again the Madison Eagles, the Robbie Eagles, the Mick Moretti, Jack Bonza, those people, their credit for doing that, because they've taken what they've learned overseas in Mexico, Japan, US, and whatnot, and brought it back.
Yeah, for sure. Big up. Great work. The next one, back to the anatomy questions. The next one is the only wrestling one on this particular list. It's your favourite match stipulation. And if it's different in terms of what you like to be in versus what you like to watch, you can say too.
Look, I think my favourite sort of match to be in is any sort of Iron Man match. Because again, I think just depending on how much a lot of time you have and how you really want to tell that story, you can tell that story with many different chapters in 60 minutes or 30 minutes, and that is both a creative freedom and a creative challenge, in which I very much enjoy. Maybe to watch. You know what? I would be lying if I didn't say don't love watching any sort of match that's just absolute chaos anarchy. So any sort of like no holds barred, straight fight, anything like that. Because again, I'm very big on creatively what are these people going to do differently, or what's their sort of their creative viewpoint when doing this or telling this story. So I very much enjoy it.
No, some good choices. I like it. The next one is your favorite place in the world.
Ooh, my favorite place in the world, if we're going kind of like geographically, is a very out of left field. I bloody love Prague. Don't know. Prague is just absolutely fantastic.
It's beautiful, yeah.
Some of the cheapest beers I've ever experienced, but yes, it's also beautiful.
Yeah,
as well.
again, the alcohol price as well. But
but yeah, Prague just, I don't know. I remember spending time in Prague and just walked away from that and just thinking, this was the absolute best shit I've ever really experienced. I would say that, and then corny corny sort of style. Anywhere that's there's a bit of a wrestling ring, I'm sure a lot of people will understand. There's a nice sort of peace or a nice sort of solace that comes with just kind of like an empty ring in a like little sort of warehouse, whatever it is, with one or two people. It gives good mental clarity.
Yeah, sure. No, I love it. And the final one, you mentioned Prague for the first one. Let's say somewhere you haven't been because it's your dream holiday destination.
Dream holiday destination. I've been getting into F1 for quite a while now. Now, thank you to David Streamer and Andrew Rose, our commentator. Man, I'm a Monaco bitch. Get me to Monaco.
Yeah, the whole weekend. That'd be cool.
Get me there for either the F1 weekend or just a weekend on some billionaire's sort of rich yacht, whatever it may be. Just get me get me to Monaco, mate.
That's the goal. That's how can I end up there? Ideally through wrestling. That's a show, right?
Yeah. Look, if someone decides to create Monaco Pro Wrestling MPW, I would certainly be sending a little bit of a DM. Definitely fly myself over for Monaco.
Well, I promise you, Ricky, that if I win the lottery, I will start Monaco Pro Wrestling and we'll get you booked there. It's gonna be it'll be out at sea. It's gonna be like a shit. The ring's gonna be like on a yacht as well.
Oh,
like, can you imagine?
Oh, that's taking Bash at the Beach levels.
Oh, it'd be incredible, wouldn't it? Like, you load all the fans on, you sail out, and then the show starts, and you're out at sea.
Oh, wait, is that a little bit too close to the Jericho cruise?
Yeah, no, we're not cruising though. We're just gonna sort of stay. Like, you don't want to be too arsey, do you? Because like
docked?
No. Yeah, no, because if the weather's terrible, then that's a bit of a danger, isn't it?
Right, yeah.
No, we're not talking cruise. We're talking just docked, just like enough out at sea so you can be like, holy shit, I'm out at sea watching a wrestling show.
Yeah, okay, I like it. Yeah. I'm all. Let's go.
Lovely stuff. Lovely. Well, that brings an end to the feature and nearly an end to the podcast. We've got one final question here for you, Ricky, but it's not a question that's been left by me, because we have a tradition here on the podcast where our last guest leaves a question for our next guest without any context of who they'll be leaving it for. So the question that you have been left is, it's an interesting one because it brings us back to whether you'd ever come over here to the UK, because it's, who is your favourite British independent wrestler?
Ooh, you know what? That's a very good question. I would say we can still probably call him independent, or despite his success. Someone like a Gabe Kidd is someone I definitely see as someone I would very much vibe with, or very much like mesh quite well with.
I think Ricky South versus Gabe Kidd would be an insane match.
Yeah, I think that would be a little bit of a banger. So, yeah, like I would say favorite in sense of like someone just I see him like, yep, that would be a very good match, and I would enjoy that. So I would say Gabe Kidd.
Yeah, I like that. That's a solid answer.
Yeah, and he seems like what would be the best way to describe it? Seems like he likes to take the piss a little bit. So.
And that always lends itself well to Ricky South.
That does. That could backfire on me quite spectacularly. Who knows? So he's pretty sharp-witted. So that could very well come back and bite me in the ass.
No, but I like it. I think like in the ring it might. You'll be there like lying on the canvas, you'll be like, why did I say this? But
yeah, who knows?
Beforehand, you'd be like, oh, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is great.
Lovely stuff, brilliant. Well, that brings an end to the podcast. Ricky South, thank you so much for coming on the show. I hope you've enjoyed it.
No worries, thank you for having me.
No, of course, it's been a pleasure to have you here. It's been great to see everything you've been doing over the last year and beyond as well. Can't wait to see what the future holds for you. Of course, best of luck at King of the Metro. I'm sure you'll win the run. I can't believe it's even a question. I'm sure you will.
Yeah. Odds-on favourite, I tell you.
Exactly. So best of luck for that. Congratulations for everything you've had going on. We always end the podcast by giving our guests the final word, the final bit of promo time. So if anyone is checking out PWA or anywhere else in Australia that you wrestle, either online via stream or in person in Australia, if anyone sees Ricky South on a match card and checks out that show, why is Ricky South going to steal the show?
Quite simply, Ricky South is going to steal the show because I make other people look very, very, very good. And that's my strongest asset. So you want to see people look fantastic, they're going to have a match with Ricky South. So